Alex's phone lit up again. The screen showed another company call, but he did not answer immediately. He was sitting beside Tu Na's hospital bed, watching the IV drip slowly into her arm. Her face looked smaller than usual. Pale. Tired. Too tired. The premium pomelo order was still waiting. Adam had not canceled it, but trust had become fragile after the damaged shipment and copied packaging problem. The labels still needed checking. The boxes still needed sealing. Workers were still waiting for instructions. But Alex was not at the workshop. He was holding Tu Na's cold hand while the phone vibrated again inside his pocket. "Hello, everyone. We hope you are having a peaceful day." But in today's story, Alex discovers something many people learn too late. Working harder to protect a family can still leave the family feeling alone. Tu Na shifted weakly on the hospital bed. Alex stood up immediately to adjust her blanket, and in that quiet moment, the company, the shipment, and the hospital room all seemed to pull him in different directions at once. "The workers are asking whether to stop the packing line until you return." Alex leaned against the wall. He could already picture the workshop in his mind. Half-sealed boxes, workers waiting near the tables, labels stacked beside the printer, the smell of glue and cardboard still hanging in the room. Everything depended on decisions moving quickly, and that was exactly the problem. If something became unstable, he worked longer. If trust weakened, he tried to repair it personally. But this morning felt different. Tu Na's hand was still cold when he held it, and no business problem had ever made his chest feel as heavy as that. Mrs. Puang arrived carrying porridge in a metal container wrapped with cloth to keep it warm. Batang had stayed home with Henry so the child would not become frightened by the hospital machines. Mrs. Puang looked at Alex's phone lighting up again. "You should answer," she said softly. Alex stared at the screen but did not move immediately. Then he answered quietly and stepped into the hallway. Lan's voice sounded tense. The hospital corridor smelled faintly of medicine and hot water from the old kettle near the nurse station. Alex had barely slept. His shirt still carried dust from the workshop because he had gone directly from the packaging area to the hospital the night before. At sunrise, Lan had already called twice. The workers needed approval for the revised labels. One supplier wanted confirmation for the replacement boxes. Another shipment schedule had to be adjusted because Adam was asking more questions about consistency and security. Normally, Alex would have handled everything himself. That had always been his habit. If something failed, he stepped in. When Alex returned to the hospital room, Tu Na was awake for a few seconds before drifting tiredly back toward sleep. But even half awake, she noticed his expression immediately. "The company?" she whispered. Alex nodded once. Tu Na tried to push herself up slightly. "You should go check." Alex gently lowered her shoulder back onto the pillow. "You need rest." But Tu Na looked guilty instead of relieved. That small reaction hurt Alex more than the phone calls. Because even lying in a hospital bed, Tu Na still felt responsible for the pressure outside the room. And maybe he had helped create that feeling without realizing it. For months, Alex had believed protection meant working harder. More orders, better contracts, safer income, stronger systems. He thought if he carried enough pressure outside the house, Tu Na would feel secure inside it. But now he saw another truth. Protection without presence can still feel like absence. A home does not only notice who pays the bills, it notices who is there when fear enters the room. Mrs. Puang quietly unpacked the porridge while listening to the silence between Alex and Tu Na. No one was angry. No one raised their voice. But the room still felt heavy, because both of them were realizing the same thing from opposite sides. Tu Na had been trying not to become a burden. Alex had been trying to solve everything alone. And somewhere inside those good intentions, exhaustion had quietly grown. The phone rang again. This time it was not Lon. It was a voice message from Henry sent through Ba Tang. Alex pressed play softly. "Dad, is Mom still sleeping?" Henry's small voice filled the hospital room. "I drew her a pomelo flower." Then a pause. "Can she come home soon?" Alex lowered the phone slowly. At that moment, both worlds were calling him at the same time. The company and the family. And that was when the real choice finally became clear. Alex stepped outside the hospital room and stood near the end of the corridor, where sunlight touched the old tile floor. He called Lon again. "Listen carefully," he said. His voice was calm but firmer than before. "You and Min will handle the packing flow today." Lon hesitated. "But the workers are waiting for you." "No," Alex replied quietly. "They are waiting for instructions." "That is different." He closed his eyes briefly before continuing. "Double-check every label before sealing the boxes. Keep records of every finished package. Limit access to the storage area. Nobody moves completed boxes without logging it first." Lon became silent for a moment, because she understood what Alex was really saying. The company could not continue depending on one person standing in the middle of every problem. That afternoon, Alex sat beside Tu Na while reviewing shipment photos on his phone. But something had changed inside him. Before, every business problem felt urgent enough to pull him away from home. Now he looked at the workshop differently. A strong company should survive one difficult day without its owner standing beside every table. If one absence could freeze the entire system, then the system was weak. That practical truth reached deeper than business. The same thing was happening inside the home. Tu Na remembered Henry's towels. Tu Na remembered medicine times. Tu Na remembered garden routines, meal details, small shopping needs, and emotional tensions before anyone else noticed them. The family had slowly become dependent on her invisible memory. And now the company had become dependent on Alex in the same dangerous way. Different places, same weakness. Mrs. Puang noticed Alex staring quietly at the phone screen. "You finally understand something?" she asked gently. Alex nodded once. "I built too many things around myself." Mrs. Puang handed him warm tea from the small hospital flask. "That feels strong in the beginning," she said, "until life forces you to step away." Alex looked through the glass window toward Tu Na sleeping again under the thin blanket. For the first time, he realized success was not only measured by growth. It was measured by whether the people you loved could still breathe peacefully while life became difficult. By evening, Lon sent photos from the workshop. The workers had reorganized the packing tables. Labels were now checked by 2 people instead of 1. Finished boxes were moved into a locked storage corner before shipment. A written log sat beside the door. Small changes, simple systems. But they created calm. Alex stared at the photos longer than expected. For months, he had believed the company needed him constantly present to stay stable. But now he saw something else. People became stronger when trusted with responsibility instead of waiting for rescue every hour. Inside the hospital room, Tu Na slowly opened her eyes again. The IV line shifted slightly as she moved her hand. Alex immediately stood beside her. "Henry," Tu Na whispered first. "He's safe with Ba Tang," Alex said softly. Tu Na relaxed slightly, then she asked the second question. "The order?" Alex looked down at their hands for a moment. Normally, he would have answered immediately with numbers, updates, shipment details, and solutions. But this time he stayed quiet first. Then he gently held her fingers tighter. "The order can wait for a system," he said. His voice was low, steady. "You should never have had to wait for care." Tuna turned her face away quickly, but her fingers tightened around his hand. The room became silent except for the soft machine sounds beside the bed. Mrs. Puong quietly looked down at the porridge bowl in her lap and pretended not to notice the tears in Tuna's eyes. Because some moments are too honest to interrupt. They think love is sacrifice measured through work hours. But eventually, the family stops needing only protection. They need presence. They need shared responsibility. They need systems at home and at work that do not collapse whenever one person becomes weak, sick, exhausted, or overwhelmed. Back at the wooden house, Ba Tang was helping Henry wash his hands beside the basin. Henry looked toward the bamboo gate. "Dad still at hospital?" Ba Tang nodded gently. Henry stayed quiet for a moment before asking another question. "Did Mom eat today?" Ba Tang smiled softly. "Yes, your father made sure she ate." Henry seemed relieved. Later that night, Alex walked outside the hospital for fresh air. The street was quieter now. A motorbike passed slowly near the gate. Water dripped somewhere near the wall after evening cleaning. Alex sat on the low cement bench and finally allowed himself to think clearly. The damaged shipment had frightened him. The copied packaging had angered him. The possibility of losing Adam's trust had kept him awake for nights. But none of those things had shaken him the way Tuna's weak breathing had. That realization carried a hidden cost. He had spent so much time trying to secure the future that he had almost disappeared from the present. And many people make the same mistake. Then he carefully placed his small drawing of the pomelo flower near the folded blanket beside his sleeping mat. He wanted Tuna to see it when she came home, and somehow, that small drawing mattered more to Alex now than the premium shipment photos on his phone. Alex looked toward Tuna, sleeping more peacefully than the day before. Her breathing sounded steadier now. Mrs. Puong was peeling fruit quietly near the window. Outside, morning light was beginning to reach the hospital corridor. He finally understood that real strength was not controlling every problem personally. Real strength was building people, trust, and systems strong enough to keep caring for each other when life became difficult. The next morning, Adam finally replied to the updated shipment report. He did not cancel the order, but his final message made Alex sit still for several seconds. "Who else has access to your finished boxes?" Alex read the sentence twice, not because he feared the question, but because he finally understood what Adam was truly testing. Not only product quality, not only packaging, not only labels, trust, systems, responsibility, the same lesson life had just forced him to learn inside the hospital room. The copied packaging problem still remained unresolved, but something important had changed. Alex no longer wanted to build a life where everything depended on one exhausted person, holding the weight alone. Not at home. Not at work. At the wooden house, Henry would probably already be awake beside Ba Tang, asking whether the pomelo flower drawing looked nice enough for his mother. Life had not become easier overnight. The company still needed rebuilding. Trust still needed repair. Alex placed the phone face down beside the hospital bed and reached for Tuna's hand again. This time, he did not rush to answer the next company call immediately. And somehow, for the first time in many weeks, the silence inside the room no longer felt like failure. Sometimes people work harder because they are afraid of losing the future, but the future quietly loses meaning when the people beside us begin carrying pain alone. And sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is stop trying to hold everything alone long enough to finally stay present for the people who matter most. Have you ever realized too late that someone you loved was carrying more pressure than they admitted? Share your thoughts below.